Standing for Her Worship the Mayor.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I ask you to remain standing, please, for a minute's silence for Mostyn James, who was the Deputy Lord Lieutenant and former Chair of Cwmtath Local Health Board, who died recently. Thank you. Thank you very much. You may remove your jackets. Are there any apologies for absence, please?
Yes, Madam Mayor, we've received apologies from Councillor Howard Barrett.
Thank you. Any declarations of interest, please? Right, minutes of previous meetings. Are there any amendments or anything? Any further amendments? Can we vote then on item number 3A to 3T?
Councillor Richard Thomas, Councillor Harvey Jones. Councillor Harvey Jones. Thank you. That's carried.
It's carried, thank you very much. Item number 4, notice of motion, Mine Workers Pension Scheme Fund surpluses. I understand it's the leader to take this.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, since 1994, around £3.3 billion has been paid into the Treasury from surpluses in the Mine Workers Pension Scheme, and further large payments can be expected in the future. This financial compensation to the Treasury is out of all proportion to the risk that the Treasury bears in underwriting the pensions of retired miners. The Treasury is in effect profiting at the expense of some of the most disadvantaged households and communities in the country. Merthyr Tydfil County Borough Council views this with concern and injustice. Madam Mayor, the recommendation is that I move that Merthyr Tydfil County Borough Council writes to the Chair of the Public Accounts Committee requesting that this matter be taken up by the committee for independent scrutiny.
Second the motion, Madam Mayor.
Any questions? Comments? Can I put it to the vote then, please? That's carried. Thank you very much. Item number 5, notices of question. Take them individually, is it, Councillor Tovey?
Right, yeah. Recently, the ruling party of the council instructed the officers to apply for closure of the right-of-way known as Vena 25. It was known that there would be a lot of opposition to this closure, which in turn would lead to a public inquiry. Not only did the council apply to the Welsh Government to close the right-of-way, but the council employed a barrister for 2 days to fight the case. As far as I'm aware, there's no legal requirement for the council to employ a barrister, as the person leading the inquiry from the Welsh Government is very qualified and independent. Having sat through this inquiry, I felt that the closure application should never have been made. There were no significant legal grounds for closure and a lot of positive reasons why the right-of-way should be kept open. Both landowners involved said at the public inquiry that when they bought the land, they were aware that there was a right-of-way there, and both landowners indicated that they weren't against the right-of-way in principle. My question is, what was the total cost to the council for this failed application to close Vena 25?
Yes, Councillor Tydfil, I'm happy to answer you that the total cost for this process was £6,300.
Now that the Welsh Government have ruled that the right-of-way should be reopened, I wondered whether the council was going to appeal to the Crown Court or Supreme Court, or just ignore the Welsh Government and the residents of Merthyr Tydfil, because it still remains closed.
I think, Councillor Tydfil, what you can have is a follow-up response to that. I don't think there's anybody from Rights of Way here at the moment who can give you a response to that sort of question. I can tell you firstly, though, that we will not ignore any ruling that is made. Whether there's any further action, we can come back to you subsequently.
Would you like to put your second question, Councillor Tydfil?
Although it seemed a good idea at the time to engage with a company to employ litter wardens, there has been a lot of public disquiet about the way the system's been currently operating. And my question was really, does the council intend to continue using the same company to tackle the problem with litter, which has partly been...
Madam Mayor, Council will make our decision later this evening.
My follow-up question, if that's okay. Essentially, I've been following Facebook, and it turns out that I wondered what the contractual arrangements are, because apparently the Cyfarthfa Retail Park didn't want litter wardens there, and the council apparently said they didn't have to go there, and allegedly they continued to go there. What's the contractual, if we take on a company to handle litter, have they then got the right to go where they want and the council has no say, or is the Facebook all wrong?
Councillor Tydfil, I wouldn't advise you ever to rely on Facebook to get your information. But yes, but that is a contractual matter, and where they are allowed to go will be determined by the nature of their contract with the local authority.
And of course, Clive, you might get alternative facts on there as well. So, you know, you would be well advised to listen to the monitoring officer on that.
This isn't a matter for debate, it was a question, and the councillor has been able to put a supplemental question, which he has done, and that closes the matter because that's just that question.
Madam Mayor, I've got a point in with regards to a comment the legal officer made, though. Can I make that point or not? Okay.
Right, item number 6 then, Cardiff Capital Region City Deal, to consider the report to the Chief Executive. I understand it's the leader to take that.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, members will be aware that this is the latest of several reports received by Council during the past 18 months or so, detailing the current position of progressing the Cardiff Capital Region City Deal. Before I move into the report, I do want to point out that there's an error in 1.2 of the report. The appendices are not in fact attached, but have been sent to all members in electronic format on Monday. There was some 98 pages of them. I have no doubt that members have gone through them with a fine-tooth comb and will have questions on them, but they've also been placed in the members' library, as it states later in the text of the report. This particular report, Madam Mayor, now seeks formal approval from Council to establish a joint cabinet to oversee the delivery of proposals under the 20-year deal. In paragraph 3.2 of the report, Council is reminded of the unique opportunity provided by the City deal to benefit the whole of the South East Wales Cardiff Capital Region, and the 5 bullet points in 3.2 outline the proposals for the investment. Further elements of investment and potential for private sector investment is set out in paragraphs 3.3 and 3.4 of the report. In order to move forward, 3 requirements set by UK and Welsh Government are outlined in paragraph 4 of the report, and they are namely the joint working agreement, the assurance framework and the implementation plan that was sent electronically to all members on Monday morning. I'm sure that all members will appreciate the amount of time taken to get these vital documents acceptable to all parties signing up to the deal has been extremely time-consuming and indeed very bruising for all 10 leaders on occasion over the past 18 months. The financial implications to this Council are detailed in paragraph 5 of the report, and members will note from paragraph 5.3 this Council's contribution both in revenue and capital costs. I would like to thank all members of Council, Madam Mayor, for the support in getting us to where we are today in terms of the City deal. Without that support, I am confident that Merthyr Tydfil County Borough Council would not have been able to make the significant contribution that it has to what has been, as I pointed out, a very difficult and at times protracted process. Madam Mayor, I commend this report to Council and move the recommendations 2.1 through to 2.10 on pages 79 and 80 of the report, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In seconding the motion, can I also add to what the leader said in terms of the work that's taking place amongst the leaders and indeed the officers of the various authorities in getting to the stage we're at. I've had to substitute on only 1 or 2 occasions for the leader, and they are very, very difficult, intense and quite detailed meetings. So I will support the leader and congratulate everybody involved in the process. I second the motion.
Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Can I ask a question in relation to paragraph 3.3? It's on page 81, and it's the second dot down, and it refers to a leverage of 4 billion of private sector investment. That's a huge amount of money. Could you be explained to me where that £4 billion is likely to come from?
I'm happy to answer that, Madam Mayor. Clive, various academics have looked at this, KPMG, the Growth and Competitiveness Commission, and if you haven't had the opportunity to read Greg Clark's report on the City deal, it's a very, very interesting read. He hasn't actually told us anything we didn't know, but what he's actually done is condensed this into a form that we can all really grapple with and understand. It's a very, very interesting read. So it's been through KPMG, Greg Clark, other academics, and it's been predicated on a sort of a 3-to-1 ratio of public to private money in terms of where other City deals have been able to draw down funding, not only across the UK but across Europe as well. So this figure, whilst it hasn't been plucked out of fresh air, you know, it's very educated people have had a look at this and experts in their own right. It is only a best guesstimate. Obviously, we can't guarantee that. It could be a bit more, it could be a bit less.
Any further questions, please? Councillor Brown?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. 5.3, if somebody could put some clarity on those 4 bullet points. In terms of the medium-term financial plan, I see there's £140,000 financial implication. But what is the affordability envelope? Can somebody tell me what that is? And the capital contribution of 4.7 million, during what period of time is that supposed to be found as well? And given that you've got to find 1.6 million for next year as well, I don't know how these figures are going to add up.
Yeah, sure. Paul, I'll answer some of that. Steve might have to give you the breakdown in terms of timeline for loans. The £4.7 million is Merthyr's contribution to the total of £120 million that is being submitted by local authorities as part of the public sector deal. The £8.3 million, which is the affordability envelope, consists of the £4.7 million, the carry costs, and the capital borrowing costs over the lifetime of the deal, which is 25 years. So that is the total amount borrowed in order to finance our side of the deal. I don't know whether Steve wants to add anything in terms of immediate borrowing, etc.
If I could add something then on the £4.7 million that we're going to have to, it's just our share of the total £120 million, is that will be incurred over 10 years.
Any further questions, please? Any comments? Councillor Thomas?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was less grateful to try and plough through the 118 pages of the appendix since Monday, but delighted to find in there that our own leader is going to be the political lead of the cabinet when it's formed to perform the function of this development. And in saying that, I have some worries about the financial implications because they're quite large. I can't work out billions. Millions I can get my grip around. I just wish everybody really well and support the move forward and support Brendan in his new role as the cabinet member for that organisation. Will it get rid of him from here, or will he be doing both jobs?
Well, whether it'll be getting rid of me from anywhere, Madam Mayor, that'll be for the electorate to decide in a matter of a few short months. I hope it does the right thing, Richard, and return me to this particular chamber. What role that'll be in, I don't know. But the role that I'm undertaking at the moment clearly is an interim role, as it is with all the leaders, and the runners and riders for the next administrative term will be determined, obviously, after the elections on May the 4th. What I would say is, if there is a huge churn in all this, I wish those new leaders the very, very best of luck, because as you'll recall, I had a lot of hair before this process started.
I think the leader has just closed the debate by speaking again. Yeah, no, I appreciate that, but I think Councillor Barry was going to make a further comment, but I think we've just closed the debate now, so we need to end the debate there. So we need to put it to the vote, please.
Can I put it to the vote then, please?
That's carried.
That's carried. Thank you very much. Item number 7, revised medium-term financial plan 2017-18 to 2020-21. Progress update January 2007. I understand it's the Deputy Leader to take this.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Members of Council will have already gone through the MTFP, as we call it, when we met recently as a joint scrutiny and audit committee. And therefore I don't intend to go through the report again this evening, because I'm sure everybody's au fait with it. I will refer to paragraph 1.3, which is on page 87, which advises that we still have a budget deficit for 2017-18 of £1.659 million to find, and that over the following 3 years, 2 years, 17-18 plus another 2 years will amount to £13 million. So it's quite a task facing us. Members of Scrutiny and Audit will be aware that there's a further meeting which is going to take place on Wednesday the 15th of February, when they will be able to consider the Cabinet's approach to delivering that further £1.659 million. So it only remains for me to move us to the recommendation on page 88, recommendations 2.1 to 2.3, subject to questions and comments. I move.
I'm happy to second, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Lisa?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Deputy Leader. I appreciate that we had the meeting just last week to look at some of the information. However, on reflection, I just wondered if I could ask a question around the AOTUS provision, education other than that at school. Apologies, I may have missed this question being asked last week, but I'd just like to address it today if possible. So I'm referring to page 99, Appendix 5. Reduced funds required to manage the AOTUS provision as a result of a change to transport arrangements and provision. Just really looking for, just briefly, a little bit of an overview on what that was, if that's okay.
This obviously, as it says at the top of the page, items that have come forward from the schools forum, and I'll ask Dorothy if she wants to address it.
Thank you, Councillor Williams. There was a review of the allocation of transport for those pupils, and it was revealed that some pupils were in receipt of transport which was not in line with the home to school transport policy. In other words, they were receiving transport within a distance with which would it be rightly expected for them to not be entitled to transport.
Sorry, Dorothy, and then does that refer to the word and provision as well then? Page 99. Wondered if there was a significant change to provision, sorry.
No, it's not a significant change to provision, but we've made some changes around staffing as a result of reviewing the provision and seeing how we could improve it. So it wasn't an intentional saving, it was as an outcome of a review.
Any further questions, please? Comments? Councillor Thomas.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I realise that I asked the question in our joint scrutiny meetings about the clothing and maintenance allowance and had a fully informed answer from our education lead officer. I still want it on record that I'm disappointed that we're taking £46,000 out of budget, which may affect those who are least likely to be able to fund the costs themselves. I'm referring, of course, to the clothing and maintenance allowance. Purely a comment.
May I be allowed to reply to the comment from the point of view that this is an item put forward by the head teachers through the schools forum, so it's not anything that we've decided here in the council. And in addition to that, just remind everyone that schools are to a large degree self-financing because they've got the independent schools budget called ISB, and clearly within that ISB they've got a fair amount of decision making as to how they spend that money. So should any school wish to continue with schools clothing provision, they can actually spend that money out of their ISB and indeed charge, if they wish, to the pupils for the money to come back. It is purely a matter that the schools can deal with, and I'm quite happy for the schools to deal with it, and also, as I say, I'm grateful for the heads for putting that forward for consideration.
Any further comments, please? Can I put it to the vote then? That's carried, thank you. Item number 8, Annual Treasury Report 2015-16, to consider report of the Chief Executive. I understand that's you again, Phil.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think for the fifth and final time on this administration, I shall make the reference that this is obviously excellent bedside reading for you. I'm sure members will have enjoyed reading through it. It is an annual report that needs to come to Council in respect of the way we deal with the Treasury items. Treasury actually is actually find in the next paper, if you haven't already picked that up. So it's a straightforward recommendation on page 103 that the annual Treasury report be received and the actual prudential and Treasury indicators be received. I move.
Second.
Any questions, please? Comments? Can I put it to the vote then? Item number 9, Treasury Management Policy Statement and Annual Investment Strategy 2016-17 in your review.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is another annual report that has to come to Council, and you can see from the summary that the in-year Treasury report outlines the Council's performance for the first 8 months of the 2016-17 financial year in respect of the 3 areas headed there, which is the management of the organisation's cash flow, its banking, money market and capital market transactions, the effective control of the risks associated with those activities and the pursuit of optimum performance consistent with those risks. If I can refer members to the report itself and refer us to page 115, paragraph 1.2, which for members' information defines Treasury management as the management of the local authority's cash flows, its banking, money market and capital market transactions, the effective control of the risks associated with those activities and the pursuit of optimum performance consistent with those risks. As it says in the report, all of this is governed by, the Chartered Institute of Public Finance and Accountancy's Code of Practice on Treasury Management, which we've adopted. Can I move us to page 116? In paragraph 3.2, where it says the Council will aim to achieve the optimum return on investments commensurate with the proper levels of security and liquidity. In the current economic climate, it's considered appropriate to keep investments short-term, only investing with the top UK banks and building societies and other UK local authorities. If I then move us on to page 117, and the interesting information there is a comparison, I would say, between Table 1, which is the analysis of investments, and Table 2, which is the analysis of borrowing for the first 8 months of the year. And a very interesting fact to me is that the average rate of interest we received on investments was 0.35%, whereas the average rate of interest we paid on borrowing was 0.28%. So in fact, we've actually received more from investing than it cost us for borrowing in the first 8 months of the year. Having said all of, excuse me, Madam Mayor, having said all of that, the recommendation is on page 113, that the Treasury Management Policy Statement and Annual Investment Strategy in your review report for 2016-17 be received, subject to questions and comments. I move.
Second.
Any questions, please? Comments? Councillor Thomas.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Delighted to see the move to short-term borrowing, because it's obviously paying off, because Steve is making more money for us now than it's costing us. So I'm pleased to see that change, because I think in the past, Steve, we've done much more long-term borrowing than short-term. So congratulations on viewing the market and seeing it and doing it best for us. Thank you very much.
Madam Mayor, if I may respond to that, that is, I'm sure Steve is grateful, and his team, for the comment from the Leader of the Opposition, which I totally endorse, because we do have a top team in terms of our management, Treasury management. They know their business. When you read about various interest rates and the rest of it, you need to be aware, those of you who know a bit about local government finance, that local government actually works on borrowing, always has, always will. That's in the statutes. And when you read interest rates being so high, that's on historical debt, which, quite frankly, you can do nothing about, because we just don't have the resources to be able to say, well, we'll pay everything off and then we'll re-borrow. So you can see that the management of this Treasury function is being very well controlled by an excellent team.
Can I put it to the vote then, please? That's carried, thank you. Item number 10, resolution to review the honorary recorder of Merthyr Tydfil.
Yes, Madam Mayor, there are some technical issues about this report, which means that it can't proceed tonight, so I'm going to ask that it be deferred, and it will then be presented again to the next council meeting.
Thank you. So, item number 11, adoption of council tax reduction scheme for the financial year 2017-18. Consider a report to the Chief Executive. I understand that's you again, Councillor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is summarised on page 123, where it says that the council has adopted a council tax reduction scheme in accordance with requirements laid down by the Welsh Government, and that we're required to adopt a scheme annually. So this year it's again the request that we adopt the scheme as in recommendation 2.1. The interesting thing is obviously that in adopting the scheme, we as an authority, if you can turn to page 124, are incurring a cost to ourselves of £62,000 because we are continuing to continue with the discretion that we have under the regulations to leave unchanged the disregard of war, disablement pension and war widows pension. £63,000 per annum is costing us. I think it's money well spent. I move.
Delighted to second that, Madam Mayor.
Any questions, please? Comments? Councillor O'Neill?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I'd just like to say to congratulate the council really on that, because it benefits some of the poorest in our communities, and I'll be pleased to tell the ladies in the Gurnos on next Wednesday. I know they'll be pleased with it. It's really something to be commended.
Any further comments? Can I put it to the vote then, please? That's carried, thank you. Item number 12, Help for Pensioners Scheme 2017, to consider a report of the Deputy Chief Executive. Councillor Toomey?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, members will be familiar with the content of this report in as much as it comes before us virtually every year and has done for a number of years now. Madam Mayor, members will note from 3.2 of the report, 3.3 of the report, that last year, by reducing or introducing the reduction, and 860 pensioners benefited from that particular scheme. And although it was only £50, I'm sure that £50 in the most serious of cases is very, very welcome indeed. From 4.5 of the report, it's worth highlighting, Madam Mayor, that having done a recent survey of all Welsh authorities, it's been identified that 20 out of the 22 authorities will not be operating the scheme in future, and one authority is yet to make its decision. Having thought long and hard about this, Madam Mayor, I'm sure Council will be fully supportive of continuing with that arrangement this year, so therefore I'm happy to move that the Council continues to operate the scheme as operated in 2016-17 by providing financial support up to the maximum of £50.
And in seconding the motion of the leader, can I just say I hope that the 860 pensioners who have already received the support last year will receive it again next year, and indeed perhaps a few more if we can get them to understand that this is available for them. I second.
Any questions, please? Comments? Councillor Jones?
Madam Mayor, I'm pleased to see that this is the recommendation again this year. I'm not concerned that we'll be the only authority, probably out of the 22, that are doing this. We're in severe, austere times, and this UK government has, frankly, in many areas, has no compassion. I'm pleased to see that this authority has, and that this will continue. As you said, over 800 pensioners, albeit £50, but it is something for those people who are in difficulty.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Similar to my last comment, really, and I agree with everything that Councillor Jones said there. I agree with it wholeheartedly. The government of Westminster has done its best to penalise many of our poorest, and I think it's something to welcome. Thank you.
Can I put it to the vote then, please? That's carried, thank you very much. Item number 13, internal enforcement project for the issuing of fixed penalty notice for litter and dog fouling offences. I understand it's Councillor Barry to take this.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, members will be aware of the blight caused by litter and dog fouling throughout the county borough. In the last full financial year, we received over 1,600 complaints, 164 of them relating to dog fouling. Last February, a 12-month pilot project was approved by Cabinet for litter and dog fouling enforcement, with 3GS being a service provider. It was always the intention to review and evaluate after this 12-month period and to consider the way forward. The scheme has undoubtedly had a significant positive impact on the cleanliness of the county borough. However, we have received complaints around the approach adopted by 3GS. We have therefore considered 4 options with dealing with the offences going forward. Option 1, stop all enforcement activity, and we do not consider that appropriate given the scale of the problem. Option 2, negotiate with 3GS, and option 3, explore options from other providers. Again, we consider neither of these appropriate, as commercial organisations will have a greater emphasis on profits. So option 4, Madam Mayor, which is a recommendation I will be moving, the Council provides an enforcement service for litter and dog fouling offences through directly employed litter wardens. This is a preferred option, as it will give us greater control over the enforcement activity. Should this option be accepted tonight, there will be a further report presented to the Council to approve a litter and dog fouling enforcement policy. Madam Mayor, we've outlined financial implications in section 5.1 of the report. This shows the number of PCNs which would need to be issued in order to be cost neutral. However, we've only given that for member information so that they make a decision knowing the full facts. They are not targets, they will never be targets. This is not a target-driven system. Madam Mayor, I move recommendation 2.1 on page 131 of the report.
Madam Mayor, in seconding the motion of Councillor Barry, I would obviously wear my finance hat on this one, and potentially it could cost us £64,000, and I would say £64,000 well spent to keep our borough clean. And certainly, as far as we're concerned, if we have to pay £64,000, so we will. But as you say, as Chris says, there will be some income coming in from FPNs issued, but that will not be a case that we will be driving everywhere to try and get that money in. As far as we're concerned, we will be looking at deliberate offenders, as it says in the report. I second the motion.
Any questions, please? Councillor Mitten.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My question is relating to 3GS. I appreciate that our Cabinet member mentioned about it not being profit-driven, target-driven, etc. But do we know what profit 3GS made in the last 12 months?
Finance point of view, obviously, I can't answer that from the point of view that this is a company that we've employed, and as far as the company is concerned, it's entirely down to the company. We employ the company to keep the borough clean for us. That's what they were doing for us. We don't sit down and say, well, how much have we made, and can we have so much back? So I can't answer that question at all. I think it's probably the company would say to you is commercial in confidence, but I can't speak for them.
Can I follow that up? Maybe not in financial terms then, Deputy Leader, but maybe in the number of FPNs issued, just to give us some indication, because if we're looking at a spend of, sorry, apologies, was this £64,000? You know, we do need to have some indication of, whilst I fully support having a clean borough, by the way, we do need to have some indication of how many FPNs perhaps were issued by this. And whilst I say that, the point I'm trying to make is we entered into a contract agreement with them. So whilst they may think it's commercially sensitive, financially, I appreciate what the Deputy Leader is saying, but they should be able to let us know how many FPNs were issued.
I'll bring Paul in on to answer that one for you, Lisa, in terms of numbers. But I would reiterate, as I've said consistently over the past, the purpose of this is to ensure that we have a clean borough and that we try as far as possible to ensure that we have a zero tolerance policy towards littering. There is nothing worse than seeing people dropping litter and walking the streets and seeing all the litter we've got. We have got to try and deal with it somehow. Paul.
Yeah, just going back to Councillor Mitten's request there. Yeah, there was, at the 23rd of November, which was the last report I received of 3GS, there was 1,103 fixed penalty notices issued by 3GS. And in terms of the end of the contract, we'll find out more on 31st.
Any further questions, please? Comments? Can I put it... Oh, Councillor Mitten? Oh, right, Councillor Thomas.
Gosh, thank you very much. I simply want to support the paper and to congratulate the authority on taking this step. I'm not sure that I would totally agree with 4.1, where we have seen a significant improvement on a positive impact, because if you come down to Treharris and you look at the litter, and please forgive me, I'm not blaming the members here. It's not us that throw it down, and it's not the council that throws it down. There's a certain education policy that needs to be brought about here. I agree with Phil, to see people throwing litter, or as they do on Quaker's Yard, parcel it up in a plastic bag, tie the bag up and then throw that out of the car. It really is frustrating. So I'm hoping that our 2 new members will do a tremendous job. I hesitate to bring back the death penalty for littering, but you know, my name's not Trump. Might be Chump occasionally, but not Trump. So well done, and let's move it forward and issue as many fixed penalty notices as you possibly can.
Councillor Mitten.
I'll just follow that up with my comment about you can issue as many FPNs as you can. However, common sense must prevail. And whilst comment was made about Facebook earlier, what I will say is that in this current era, you know, Facebook is a way of residents conversing with their local representatives, their ward councillors, and for somebody to drop a receipt and not have the opportunity, whilst offered, to pick that up, I just hope that our officers will use common sense approach as well. And I fully endorse and support what the Deputy Leader has said about this and having a clean borough.
Councillor Tomei.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. And I appreciate the comments from both the Leader and the Deputy Leader of the Opposition, and fully agree with what they're saying. The opportunity that we've got this evening, of course, is to get more control. The point that Richard made was, you know, Treharris has still got an area. What this will be able to do, Richard, if Council agrees this report tonight, it'll be able to give us far more flexibility in actually deploying the resources to where they're needed. I think what the last 12 months has done with us, and which is why we entered into a 12-month contract in the first place, was to be able to learn from this particular exercise over the 12 months period and to see if we could do it better. We learned a huge amount in that period of time. There was a lot of good stuff that had gone on. Whilst there were a lot of accusations about inappropriate behaviour from the enforcement officers, members would recall and will be fully aware that we had the opportunity to view the body cam footage, and we saw absolutely nothing whatsoever on there to give any indication of any wrongdoing by the wardens themselves. Particularly one individual was allegedly frog marched to the cash point opposite the old WH Smiths. The footage didn't sort of endorse or confirm that in any way, shape or form. In fact, nothing could have been further from the truth. However, we'd be daft not to take this matter forward in many respects, particularly given the flexibility, the hotspot areas that we have, and we'd be able to deploy, as I said earlier on, far more quickly than we could have done through any private company. As has already been pointed out, and I fully endorse it, you know, there will be an education of the public where at all possible, but life isn't as simple as that. Lisa, you know, you can tell people until you're blue in the face, they'll still do what they want to do. And I agree totally with what's been said in terms of fixed penalty notices. If somebody deliberately drops litter, they deserve to get the ticket. If somebody inadvertently drops something out of their pocket, as we all do from time to time, they should be given the opportunity to pick it up. So common sense will prevail, and I'm hoping and I'm confident that this new policy will be able to take us forward for many years to come. And of course, it's employing directly through the local authority with better terms and conditions, hopefully, than a private company could offer.
Any further comments, please? Councillor Brown?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In relation to 4.9, and when we're talking about working up a new policy around this, should it get passed this evening, I hope it's going to be included that the process is included to use that huge resource of the population we've got in the borough, and to encourage people to report dog owners who actually offend and leave the mess on the pavement and walk away. Quite often people ask me what is the process, how can I report it, and whatever, and I think that needs to be made clear in that policy that comes out, and be part of the public information in the contact magazine as well, so that we tap into that resource, encourage people to report it, and hopefully encourage more responsible dog owners.
Councillor Jones?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to put on record the vast amount of work that's being carried out by our litter collectors day in, day out. In my opinion, there is really a small number of people living in this county borough and visitors who couldn't care less. But there are also private landowners in this county borough who also couldn't care less. And we have sites, we have some in our ward and elsewhere, where they allow people to drop litter and fly tip, and that's outside, in many cases, where we can act. So the private landowners have also got a responsibility.
Any further comments, please? Can I put it to the vote then? That's carried, thank you. Item number 14, Declaration of Air Quality Management Area, Tynrodden Road, Merthyr Tydfil. Consider a report of the Chief Officer, Community Regeneration. I understand that's you, Councillor Barry?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, local authorities are required to assess air quality in their area and to designate air quality management areas, or AQMAs, if improvements are necessary. As a result of the monitoring undertaken within the borough, elevated levels of nitrogen dioxide have been detected on Tynrodden Road. A detailed assessment was then carried out, and this assessment concluded that it is necessary to declare an air quality management area. The assessment has been submitted and accepted by the Welsh Government and published on our website. Once an air quality management area has been designated, we are required to prepare a separate air quality action plan. There is a time scale allowed of 12 to 18 months, although every effort will be made to resolve the matter earlier. Our environmental health officers and the highway engineers are working together on this, and a specialist external consultancy has been engaged to scientifically model a number of alternative solutions. There will be a consultation period of not less than 8 weeks after these options have been finalised. Madam Mayor, happy to move recommendation 2.1 on page 136 of the report.
Second the motion, Madam Mayor.
Are there any questions, please? Comments? Councillor Jones?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As Chair of the Scrutiny for Regeneration, Planning and Community, I welcome this. I think it's a good step forward in terms of what we currently know about the scientific data that's been released with regards to diesel fumes and the effects that they can have on the population living in areas where there's a high concentration of traffic movement up and down, and I can imagine going up and down, particularly going up Twine Hill, you were pumping out more diesel fumes if you're a diesel owner driver than you would otherwise, so I welcome that.
Councillor Matthews?
Just a comment, Madam Mayor. Under 5.3 it says about the action plan, there is not going to be one simple solution to this. I suspect it'll end up being a combination of lots of different actions. And I look forward to this plan when we will, as ward members, be working with officers to look at where we go from here, really.
Any further comments, please? Can Councillor Jones do another one? Can you do another one? Yeah. Councillor Jones?
Yeah, following on from that, we're all aware of the sleeping policemen that we have on Twine Hill. We in the Bedlinog ward have moved from sleeping policemen to, well, I think they're called pillows. I stand corrected if that isn't the correct term. And that, in a sense, prevents the stop-start. You are able to drive over these, albeit at a reduced speed, so that you don't get the sort of slow down and then the acceleration side of things as well. And I know it would cost money. And the other factor that comes into this is where you have separate ones on either side of the road, drivers very often prefer to go through the middle and take the middle ground so that their suspension isn't ruined. I'm just wondering if it would be feasible. I guess it wouldn't be in terms of costs, but I just throw that out anyway. If we could look at the removal of those and perhaps putting in the, I'm sorry, I'm a little bit distracted by what's going on to my right-hand side. I try to give speakers. Right.
Councillor Barry?
Yeah, I'll finish off, Madam Mayor. Apologies to Gareth, but we were talking about the second contribution anyway, but it is referenced in the report. There will be a number of options considered, and I'm sure, as I said, we've got environmental health, a specialist company, and highway engineers. I'll ensure they take into account speed cushions.
Any further comments, please? Can I put it to the vote? That's carried. Thank you very much. Item number 15. Has this one been pulled, Phil? Item number 15? Oh, right.
Yeah, I'll take it, Madam Mayor.
Okay. So item number 15, Biffa Profit Sharing Scheme. Consider a report to the Chief Officer of Community Regeneration.
Yes, Madam Mayor, it's a straightforward report. Councillor Carter's declared his interest. Can I move that the Pentre Bark Labour Club football section is granted the sum of £800 as requested on page 149 of the report before us this evening?
Second.
Any questions? Comments? Can I put it to the vote then, please?
Vote again, please, Councillor Chapman. Yes, well done. Thank you, that's carried.
That's carried, thank you very much. Item number 16, to deal with any other urgent business or correspondence. There isn't any. To receive, item number 17, receive communication from Her Worship the Mayor. There is none. So thank you very much everyone for attending. Safe journey.